Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Happy New Year, good folks. I mean, not Happy New Year. All right. Happy Valentine's Day. Oh my goodness. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Welcome to this segment of the Fiscal Finesse University. Today, we're going to be talking about travel hacks. So, I met this guy in this Facebook group, and he was just talking about a trip that he had just got off of, and I was like, oh my goodness, I was impressed. And at the time, I was trying to schedule my birthday trip. And I was like, so I just inboxed him like, hey, I see you went on this trip. I would love to get more information. Can you help me? And he was just so eager to do so. I mean, I guess it's my charming personality. I don't know. Maybe not. But I just said, I've been watching him, and he's on his way to another huge trip. This guy is 27 years old and has been to 28 countries in over, I think he said at least five continents. That is like a dream come true to me. From the moment I started traveling, I just fell in love. I was like, oh my goodness. And I ain't talking about going to Florida or Vegas or, that type of travel. I'm talking international travel. So I didn't get my passport. So I'm just going to expose myself and talk about me. And then y'all can talk about y'all. But I didn't get my passport until I was 30 years old. So I didn't travel outside of the country until I was 30 years old. Before that, I believe my first trip living in Columbus, Ohio, right? My first trip was to Detroit, Michigan. And then after that, I went to West Virginia a few times. I went to Florida. I take that back. I traveled internationally, but at the time, I didn't need a passport. So all I needed was my birth certificate. So when I went to the Bahamas, I went to the Bahamas a few times in my 20s. And at the time, there was no passport needed. I just needed my birth certificate. I took Quandel to Bahamas a few times, and I traveled to the Bahamas a few times. But I didn't get that bug back then. I didn't get that travel bug until I went to like Jamaica, Dominican Republic. Then I was like, oh, this is the life. And maybe I didn't stay as long. I don't know. I know you can appreciate things as you get older. So maybe I just appreciated it more when I got older. So I am here to talk about travel hacks. Hey, thank
Fine.
you. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm super awesome. Super awesome. Happy Valentine's Day.
Likewise.
So I was on here talking about the fact that I didn't get that travel bug until first of all, I didn't get my passport until I was 30. I had traveled to the Bahamas at least 3 times before then, but they didn't require a passport at that time. They just
Right.
required your birth certificate. And then being from Ohio, I went to Florida a few times. I went to Vegas, the travel destinations in the United States, right? But I had never gone anywhere where I was like, oh, this is the life. Like, I got to travel for the rest of my life until I went to like Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and places like that. Then I was like,
Right.
whoa, this is awesome. And then last year, my daughter and I went to China, and I was like, whoa, this is awesome. So now I'm like, I got that bug. And so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Leroy, 28 years old. I'll be 29 in 2.5 weeks.
Okay. Happy
Um,
birthday.
Thanks. Well, my favorite travel destination is Australia. I've been there 4 times over the past 8 years. And the reason why is because it was the very first place I went to solo back in 2010 and just fell in love with it. So I just kept going back. My last trip there was in August of 2018. And the way I got started traveling, I was probably about 8 or 9. My mom, she got me this kid's encyclopedia called the Giant Book of Questions and Answers. I remember it like it was yesterday. So I read through it and I got to the geography section and I just got hooked just seeing all these, cool building stuff all around the world. So I made it a mission as I got older to go see those places. And then when she passed away in '05, I made it more of like a personal mission to go see these places, especially the places she never made it to. So,
So the first time you traveled, did your parents take you, or was that something you just said, nope, I'm doing it on my own?
a lot of the international travel I did solo, like on my own. But like, when I was a kid, I just, went all over the United States. But, as I got older, I just wanted to go overseas and just haven't looked back since.
You got to type the name of that book into our little session, because I think that's important. One of the things that I talk about a lot in my training and with my one-on-one clients is the fact that exposure is key. And exposure can come from anywhere. And for me, I wasn't exposed as a child. We traveled all over Columbus, you know what I'm saying? But nowhere else, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of my family members have never even been out of Ohio. So when I think about exposure and exposing our children to different things, it can come from a book. It doesn't have to come from the actual place. And I love that you said that. Like, you saw a book and you were like, you know what? One day I'm going to visit all these places. And that's amazing. That's kind of like how we went to China. It was like, one day I asked my baby, where you want to go to spring break? And I was thinking she was going to say, like Disney World. She's been to Disney World a couple of times. I was thinking, okay, that's what she said, China. I was like, oh, okay. And so, you just make it happen. So tell me about if somebody was new to travel, like they were, and especially if they were going solo, because you've had a lot of solo trips, and that's what I'm looking forward to too. A lot of my trips have been with family members and friends and things like that, but I'm looking forward to my next trip, the one that you helped me plan, just going solo. So tell us about if someone was planning a solo trip, as far as price, as far as, proximity, as far as the least amount of drama or trouble, where would you recommend they go?
For a first-time solo traveler,
Yes.
it really just depends on what they're interested in. Because, the world's a big place. And the hardest part about traveling is figuring out where to go.
Right.
But if I had to choose, it'll probably be Europe. Because it's so cheap to get there now, it's not even funny. Like, you can literally get to Europe for cheaper than flying transcontinental here in the States right now.
What part of Europe?
I would start in London because, London Heathrow is the busiest airport in Europe and it's naturally cheap to fly there. Like, I've
So
flown
what's cheap? Like, put a dollar amount on it.
Like, if you flew one way from like the East Coast, you can get there as cheap as like $200 to $300 one way.
Okay.
And
So $200 to $300 to go to London each
so
way. And then what
either,
would you recommend as far as hotels? Because I'm just, I'm in those travel groups. So I'm learning about the hostels. I'm learning about, all of that. And so I'm excited. I'm a little weary. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, you know what? As a single woman, staying in the hostel, I'm like, I don't know. But I'm going to try it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never going to knock it until I try it. But what would you recommend as far as like hotels?
See, as a solo traveler, hostels are awesome because, because a lot of hostels have private rooms as well. But if you
So
want
talk
to,
about hostels, because some of these folks may not know what a hostel is.
basically a hostel, it's kind of like a dorm. You can either, there's all male dorms, all female dorms, and there's co-ed dorms, or you can get your own room. And it's a lot cheaper than like a hotel per se. And at the same time, it's the easiest way to meet people, especially if you're traveling solo. Like, I've met like the coolest people in hostels because like actually my one of my hostel mates I met in Dubai 3 years ago. He's Argentinian. He lives in Buenos Aires. So I'm actually meeting up with him in March. I
Oh,
haven't
wow.
seen him. Yeah, so when I go to Argentina, I'm gonna meet up with him. And
that's another thing. I'm glad you brought up that point. I have met the most amazing people traveling. Like, some of my Facebook friends that I have now are people that I met when I was traveling, when I went to Dominican Republic, when I went to Jamaica. It's like when you're traveling, you meet people, you network. It's almost natural for us to kind of gravitate towards someone else,
Yeah,
especially when you're
exactly.
there. So I agree with you on that. It's like you meet the best people, and then you end up like traveling with them every year,
Exactly.
or
You
at
know,
least
you meet up
every
with
other year.
people. You meet up with people in hostels. Like, let's say if you guys want to go like on a tour or whatever, you guys, or if they want to like rent a car, you can split the cost of the car and just drive. That's what I did in Iceland in 2017. One of my hostel mates, we were in the same room, figured out what we were gonna do, and we were like, look, let's rent a car, we'll split it, and the rest was history. And I still keep in touch with him to this day. I actually met up with him in Los Angeles on my way to Fiji last year.
Well, you've been
And
all over the place. When I was in Fiji, when I was in Buenos Aires, I mean, I'm like, geez. I'm excited though. I'm excited for you. Now tell them about this amazing trip you have coming up.
all right, so on March 16th, I'm going to Russia, and
You said that so
getting
casually. I'm going to Russia. Like,
and
I'm going to Cincinnati.
getting the visa for Russia was like the biggest pain in the ass like ever. It was so bad
Oh,
because
wow.
there's only four Russian consulates in the United States, one in New York, DC, Houston, and San Francisco. I don't live in any of those cities, and I wasn't going to travel to one either.
Right.
So my best bet was to mail off my passport to the Russian embassy. I was kind of apprehensive about it because I kind of feel naked without my passport. It just feels kind of wrong. So basically, you need five things for a Russian visa. First thing you need is your passport, and it has to be valid for 6 months after you leave Russia. That's just like any other country you go to. The passport
Right.
requirement is that it has to be valid for 6 months after departure. The second thing you need is what they call a visa support letter or invitation letter. It's a lot easier to get than it sounds. Or you can really just get one off the internet for like $30 and you'll get it in
You
like,
don't have to go through like a hotel that you're staying at or anything
I
like
mean, you
that.
can. You can. I didn't. It was just easier just get it through a third party.
Okay.
The third thing you need is the application itself, which is only available online, and it is like the longest application ever. They ask you everything, all your passport information, your travel dates. But your travel dates don't necessarily have to be accurate. Because what I did was I made my visa valid from March 1st to March 30th. So I
Mm.
can enter Russia at any time before those dates, or any time during those dates, rather. I just have to leave by March 30th.
Okay. Okay. And
So
you're
that
staying for
way,
how long?
I'm in Russia for 6 days. And then
Okay.
after you fill out the application, you have to get you have to go through like some sort of agency, and the agency I went through is called Visa Express.
Mm-hmm.
It basically, you can mail them your passport, all the documents that I mentioned before, along with a money order for like $378. It was expensive. Like it was
So
bad.
the visa itself, that's how it was for China. And I know certain places in China you don't need a visa, but we went to where did we go that we needed? Beijing, Shanghai,
Mhm.
Wuxi, Lingzhou, and I can't remember the fourth place. But I think it was because we were going into Shanghai is the reason why we actually needed the passport. I mean, sorry, the visa. The
Yeah,
visa.
because like Hong Kong isn't part of mainland China, so you don't need a visa. But see, China's weird because you can actually go to China visa free for up to, I think it's like 144 hours or something like that.
Oh.
As long as you're in transit to another destination, you can
Mm-hmm.
still enter China without a visa.
Okay. So give us two of your most famous and most money saving travel hacks.
All right, the first one is definitely change your origin depending on where you're flying from. Because, for example, when I went to Dubai, I live in St. Louis, and flying from St. Louis to Dubai was just insanely expensive.
Okay.
So what I did was I broke up the flight in New York. So I booked a flight from St. Louis to New York, and then left from New York to Dubai the next day. So my
Okay.
flight,
So instead of because I've noticed the same thing. Like I've been living here, and I wanted to pause there, but I've been living here in Seattle for 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And to go back home, it's so expensive going from Seattle to Columbus. So what I did was in December, I sent my baby back home and she flew into Cincinnati, which was much cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you fly into Detroit, it's much cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But flying straight into Columbus, it's almost like $300 more every
Yeah,
time.
and the reason being is because, St. Louis and Columbus and cities like that, they're not major airports. So it's naturally more expensive to fly out of regional airports versus international airports.
Right.
So a lot of times when I go overseas, I always catch the train up to Chicago and fly onwards because, Chicago Air is the third busiest airport in the world. So naturally it's cheaper to fly out of there. So
Okay. So yeah, I definitely fly out of Chicago, and that was one of the things that I saw when we went to Dominican Republic too. If you were flying out of Columbus, it was just like non-existent. But if you went to Newark, or if you went to, it was either Newark, Chicago, or New York. So that's a great tip. The tip is, you guys, that if you're traveling, don't be afraid to use a different port than the one you actually live in, because you could get a cheap flight to one of the other major ports. But yeah, if you're using the one that you're living in, it may cost a little bit more money. So thank you for that. What's your next tip?
my next tip is flexibility, because flexibility is like the biggest determining factor when it comes to booking flights. So let's say if you want to leave on a certain day, but it's too expensive, and you just change the day to either the day before or the day after. Sometimes it's $100, $200 cheaper.
Yes. What do you think is the best travel day? Like I heard it's like Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Honestly, it really just depends on where you're going. There's no set best day to leave / come back. It really just depends on your origin and destination, honestly.
Okay.
Because a lot of times it is cheaper to leave in the middle of the week versus the end of it. It's because a lot of business travelers travel on Mondays or Fridays.
Okay.
So it's usually cheaper to fly between Tuesdays and Thursdays from personal experience.
And so going back to what you said, if you can be flexible with your dates, like a day or two before, or even a couple days before or after, like I'm gonna talk about the trip that you planned for me, which I am super excited. So I I have been hesitant to travel by myself, but as we know, people say they go on all the way up to the day it's time to go, and then you end up being by yourself anyway. So this trip, I was like, forget about it. I want to travel. I want to go to Paris. And I asked my baby, I said, baby, you want to go to Paris? She's like, no, that's for adults. Like, that's for lovers. And I was like, okay. Because she's like my travel partner. But I'm like, okay. As a single woman, happily single woman, happy Valentine's Day. But as a happily single woman, I'm like, I can't wait for nobody. Especially not when it comes to friends and family or even a significant other. I just want to see the world, and I don't want to wait for anybody to do that. So the trip that he planned for me, I said I wanted to go to Paris, but I also wanted to see other countries along the way. So he was like, once you get to Paris, you can take the train. And I was like, really? So let me just say this. I am horrible with geography. Horrible. Like last year I learned, and this is embarrassing, but it's true. And so anyway, last year I learned that Africa is a continent and not a country. I didn't know that. I know. Look, my baby's looking at me like, Mommy, for real, don't admit that. Like, don't judge me. I didn't.
Before you carry on, I'm going to
Africa was like Africans, this and that. Although, I just found out my whole ancestry. But I didn't realize that there's like tons of countries in Africa. So when you say you want to Africa, that is a continent. So say what country you want to in Africa. Yeah, I'm horrible with geography. And another thing I'll admit, when I was going over to Dominican Republic one time, somebody was said, "Are you going to Haiti too?" And I was like, "Why would I go to Haiti too?" Not even realizing
it's right next to it.
Between Dominican Republic.
I wanted to answer Jamaica's question here, which
go ahead.
It says, because she asked, when I stayed overnight in New York on my flight to Dubai, did I stay in a hotel or Airbnb? No, because I actually have a friend of mine that lives in Manhattan, so I just stayed at his place, and he just dropped me off at JFK, and I flew from there. I didn't fly nonstop to Dubai from there. So I went through Frankfurt and then onwards to Dubai. And
Okay. Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate that. So going back to my trip to Paris. So you taught me, which I had no clue, and this is why it's important to get with somebody who has been well traveled. A lot of travel agents haven't been to half of the places that they've said or that they're encouraging you to go. But you've been to all of these different places. So I was like, where should I go? How should I get there? And you were like, go fly into Paris, then take a train. Tell them about how you kind of finagled that or finessed that. Let me use that word.
so basically, when you get to Europe, it's cheap to travel around, either by air or by train. So I had her fly into Paris because it was the cheapest flight from the United States. And then she also said she wanted to go to other countries. So I was looking at a map of Europe to see where she wanted to go and where the trains actually go from Paris to wherever. So what I had her do is I looked up a train from Paris to, was it London or Amsterdam? I think it was Amsterdam. Was it London?
I'm sorry, it was Amsterdam.
Yeah. So I've been to Paris 4 times, so I know it quite well. And the main train station in Paris is Gare du Nord, and there's a lot of trains that you can get to anywhere in Europe from there. So there's a train called the Thalys train, Thalys. It's a high speed train, and you can take that nonstop to Amsterdam in about 3 hours. So, and once you're in the European Union, there's like no passport control or anything like that. So like once you're in the EU, it's just like in the United States. So traveling from country to country, just like a domestic flight. So there's no border control or anything you have to go through or anything like that. So when you get on the train to go to Amsterdam, it just like, an Amtrak train here going from one state to another.
And I'm excited because I've never even been on the Amtrak. So I'm excited about the whole experience. And then while I'm in Amsterdam, I'm staying in a hostel. Mm-hmm. And the hostel is the one that you stayed in before. So tell them about the hostel experience that I'm going to have.
Okay, so the one at St. Christopher's Inn, I think it was. It's like the best hostel I ever stayed in my life. The train ticket from Paris to Amsterdam, it was like, it just depends on what class of service you want. So like I think the cost was like $55. Yeah, it's like $55.
Yeah.
But the hostel in Amsterdam, the St. Christopher's Inn, it's like the best hostel I ever stayed in, like ever. Like they have free walking tours every morning. So if you just want to explore the city on foot, you can with a free walking tour with them. And then as soon as you walk out of the hostel, right behind it is the red light district. So it's centrally located. And when you get off the train at Amsterdam Central, it's literally a 10-minute walk away.
So I'm excited about that. One of the things that I benefit from is I have an amazing family member who works at the Marriott. And so I get Marriott. I'm actually a Marriott Rewards Platinum Elite. And so, and then with her discount on top of that, I can stay anywhere. So that kind of cuts down my costs a lot. But I'm interested in staying in the hostel, even though that's probably half of what I would pay at a hotel. But also just that community, like you said, oftentimes when you're traveling by yourself, you need community. You need to be able to relate to other folks and also be able to develop those relationships. And so I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be my first. I can't wait to talk about it. So talk about your blog, A Black Man Abroad.
All right. So earlier this week, I launched my blog, ABlackManAbroad.com. Basically, after I go somewhere, I always write an article on it, whether it be the city I visited, airline I flew, whatever the case may be. I should have did this a long time ago, but I didn't. But I got to make up for lost time.
It's never too.
Basically, I'm just trying to see where it can go from here, because I actually plan on taking like a 6-week sabbatical and just travel nonstop and just update on the road just to see what that nomadic lifestyle is like.
Wow.
And
I'm so impressed by you. The fact that you have absolutely no fear. Like you're like, listen here, I want to go there, so let me apply for it. I want to go there, let me apply for it. I love it, and I'm encouraged by that. And
yeah,
I hope
because
other folks are encouraged by that. But that's impressive to me. A
that's
lot of times we live not so much in the fear of the unknown, but really just the doubt. Like I don't know. And then oftentimes I think the biggest major thing that keeps people from traveling is money. You know, they're like, oh, that costs way too much. But if you understand, like the whole trip that I'm taking, I want to say is 6 days, and I'm able to go to 4 different countries, and it's under $800.
see, a lot of times when people talk about the money issue, it all comes down to priority. Because I
Right.
make travel a priority instead of an option. Because because think of it this way, if you want to buy that new pair of Jordans, you make it a priority.
You're right.
You can do the exact same thing, well, by booking a trip somewhere.
You're right. Because you know what? $800 to go to 4 countries is not a lot of money.
Yeah, it's
Especially when I've gone to places like Florida and spent $800 on just the airfare, the hotel,
exactly.
and Disney World tickets. You know, I mean, way more than that because I have 2 children, and almost every time I've taken my kids to Disney World, I've taken somebody else's child. So
Exactly.
I could spend that easily, and so I'm just weighing the cost. And like you said, it's priorities. And that's part of my budgetary line item, you know, getting back to fiscal finesse. It's all about how you budget, telling your money where to go. Traveling is important to me. So in my budget, I have a budgetary line item for travel. I'm going to make sure that I get to go certain places every single year because that's important to me and I love it. I don't care about a purse or a pair of shoes or no, I like shoes, but I'm also very thrifty, so I'm gonna make sure I get them at a decent price. But I don't carry purses or stuff that other folks value. I don't value that, but I definitely value travel, and I thank
Yeah,
you for that.
because,
So,
you know,
tell us about what type of services you offer. I mean, I can tell y'all again, the service that he gave me, he was concierge. Like, I don't know a lot about these other countries. All I know about is like extravagant places where everybody's been going. But now I'm trying to get off the beaten path and travel to different places and see different things. So tell them about the services that you offer and how you can support somebody, whether they're a first-time international traveler or if they're a novice or whatever. How can you support them?
basically, just any sort of assistance you need. Like if you need to get your passport, I can definitely, walk you through that process. If you need to get a certain visa, I can walk you through that process, especially, with the Russian visa now that I've done it myself. But,
Right. That was
as
the
a,
hardest one.
oh man, because I'm telling you, that was like the biggest pain in the ass ever. Like it was terrible. But in the end, I got it. I'm telling you, when I got my passport back in the mail, it was like I was like a kid on Christmas.
I know, right?
Man, because as a U.S. citizen, you can go to, I think it's like 160 countries visa free. Some visas you can get on arrival. Like I got my Cambodia visa on arrival in
Oh, wow.
2017. Turkey, you can get one on arrival. They have e-visas too, so I just got an e-visa when I went to Turkey 2 months ago.
Interesting.
Um,
So you
if you
can
need
help walk someone through getting their visa. You can help walk someone
booking
through getting
flights,
their passport. And
hmm
what else?
saving money on flights, because a lot of novice travelers will book a flight out of their home city, and a lot of times it's really expensive unless you live in a major city. So I just like yesterday, as a matter of fact, a friend of mine lives in Atlanta and she wanted to go to Amsterdam. But flying out of Atlanta to Europe is not the cheapest thing in the world at all for whatever reason, especially with Atlanta being a Delta hub. So what I had her do is I had her get to JFK and then go onwards to Amsterdam. So the flight left New York at like 12:30 a.m. on June 20th. So I told her to get there on the 19th because midnight's the new day. So
Oh
get
yeah.
there on the 19th at around like 8 p.m. And she literally saved $620 in airfare just splitting
What?
the flight like that.
So what would you recommend for somebody on on this side, on the west side? West side?
Fly out of LAX and go
Okay.
onwards because, that's like the gateway to the United States these days. You can either go out of San Francisco or LAX, depending on, the airline you fly and realistically what airport you want to fly out of. Personally, I hate LAX. It's like the worst airport ever. But I can't avoid flying out of there, especially if I'm going towards Asia or Australia.
Okay. Okay, well, this has been super duper helpful. I really appreciate you. How can folks contact you? And what do you want to say? What do you want to leave them with anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I always encourage solo travel because it's like the ultimate freedom. You can do what you want whenever you feel like it. And it really helps you find out who you are as a person.
I like
It'll,
that.
it'll help you figure out what you can and can't handle, who you can and can't trust, that sort of thing. And plus, it's cheaper to travel by yourself too. I'm just saying.
That's true. That's true. Like when my baby said she didn't want to go to Paris, I was like,
Okay,
"Who's
bye.
this guy?"
And I
Like,
always
you
tell
saving
people,
me money. I ain't got to feed you. I ain't got to.
don't miss out
No,
on
that's true.
traveling. Don't miss out on traveling if your friends can't go
Right.
because you're just missing out on opportunity.
Yes. No, that's real right there. That is
Yeah.
so real because oftentimes you've booked a trip, like a girl's trip or a family trip or a whoever trip or a couple's trip, and then by the time you get down to it, it's like, oh, we can't go for this reason or for that reason, and then you end up missing out. So no more of that. No
I'm
more of
telling
that.
you, the biggest thing is flexibility. Like I can't stress that enough because it can literally save you hundreds of dollars by leaving a day earlier or a day later.
I love it. Thank you
You know,
for that.
I
And so
learned
how
that the
can they
hard way.
reach you?
So they can either reach me here on Facebook. My profile is public, so anybody can reach out to me in inbox. You can follow me on Instagram at ABlackManAbroad, all one word, no, no underscores or anything like that.
A black
And,
man abroad.
yep. So you can either
Okay.
go on. I put the link to my website in the comments, and
Okay.
you can follow me on Instagram or on here on Facebook, and just feel free to answer any questions. And you can also go to the Facebook group. I love to globetrot. I'm an admin there too, so like I can add you, that sort of thing.
Which one is it?
I'll type it in. I love to
Okay.
globetrot.
Because
There you go.
I met him in the Facebook group Black Elite Single Travelers.
Hmm.
Black Elite Single Travelers. So I'm like, listen here, I'm happily single and I ain't getting married no time soon. Even if y'all see me with a boo, right? Even if y'all see me with a boo,
Hmm.
it's temporary, okay? No. But my point is, I plan to travel. I don't care if it's with somebody or by myself. But I'm gonna go to love. I love to globetrot. I love that. And also, one of my goals. So the reason why I reached out to you, one of my goals for 2019 is I want to go to at least 5 countries. In 2018, I went to 2 countries. So this year I'm going to 5 countries, and here we are in February. So I gotta go. And then also, I plan to be expat in the next 5 years. So I
Same.
plan to travel, huh?
Same here.
Yes. So I plan to travel to another country and actually work and teach and live abroad. And so that's my main goal for traveling and seeing all these different countries because my major goal is to go and live abroad. Once my baby go off to college, her mama's going off to another country. Okay. So
I'm gonna grab my passport right quick, so just so you guys see like some of the places I've been to on my current
yes,
passport. Hang on one
show us
second.
that.
Hang on a second.
Let me see if there's any questions out here while you're doing that. Let me see here. Anybody got any questions before we log off? If you have a question, let us know. I know he was answering some of them during the chat, but I'm gonna see if there's any more questions out here because this is some good information. There's no reason why we should not be traveling, seeing the world, and experiencing things and meeting amazing people along the way. So let me see.
All right, here we go.
Go ahead and show us your passport, and I am going to be looking to see if there's any questions.
All right, so this stamp is when I came back into the United States from Amsterdam in 2017. To this day, Newark is the only airport that'll actually stamp you upon entry in the United States if you're a U.S. citizen. From personal experience, I don't know why that is.
No,
But,
New York did it for me.
interesting, because I haven't flown through JFK coming back in. So
Yeah, I flew through JFK each time.
hmm.
But
This one,
that's from Amsterdam, you said?
yeah, this is coming into the United States. This one's
Oh,
from
okay.
Amsterdam.
Okay.
Um, this one is when I left Paris. No, I left London going to Paris. Hang on, come on, phone, focus. Come on, phone. There we go. See, the thing is, when you travel around Europe, going from country to country, at the top they have your mode of transportation at the top. So I caught the train
Oh, that's
from
pretty cool. I
London to
never seen
Paris.
that.
Yeah, so if I flew, it would have an airplane, but if you drove, it'll have a car. If you catch the train, it has the train. This faded stamp is from London in July of 2017. My Cambodia visa. Let's see. Philippines entry and exit in 2018. Let's see. Thailand entry and exit. Cambodia entry and exit. Um, let's see. Japan, they don't give you like a stamp, they give you like a QR code type thing. So when you go through
Oh,
passport
that's pretty
control,
cool. You said that was Japan?
yeah, see,
Oh.
come on, phone, you stupid thing. There we go. Yeah, that's the Japan immigration thing they give you. Malaysia entry and exit. Thailand again, entry and exit in Malaysia. This one, Turkey, I got 2 months ago. It's kind of faded, but yeah. uh Hong Kong, they don't stamp passports anymore. So like upon departure, they give you like this slip thing. So I just put it in my passport, just act as a stamp.
Oh, okay.
Indonesia, entry and exit. Fiji, it's kind of faded, but
You just gave me an idea too.
uh,
Somebody's asking a question. Jamaica said, "How much is the train ticket to Amsterdam, though?" And I think we answered that, but it's $55.
yeah, from Paris to Amsterdam was like $55 or something like that, depending on what time you leave, because there's a timetable.
Yes. Miss Nicole Battle says she wants to travel with her baby. She needs your help as soon as possible. Jamaica says she needs that visa info. She wants to travel more. Can I travel to China for under $1,000? That's what somebody asked. What would your answer be for
It
that?
it is possible, but the visa is probably gonna offset that just a little bit because Chinese visa is not cheap.
I know. I think we paid $349.
Yeah, it's not cheap. And the
But do you have
passport,
to have a visa for every place in China?
no, because the Chinese visa, it's for the entire country.
Oh, okay.
So once you're in China with that visa, you can go anywhere you want. It's like
Okay.
Russia. Once I'm in Russia, I can go anywhere in the country with this visa.
Okay.
How much is a passport? It depends on how fast you want it. So for normal turnaround time, it's like because I know last year they increased the application fee to like $35 or something. So
Mm-hmm.
altogether, I think it's 145 now for normal processing. Another thing is another tip I have is that let's say if if you go on this spontaneous trip overseas or whatever the case may be, and you're leaving within 2 weeks, you can actually go to a passport agency in a major city. So like you can like for example in Chicago, there's one downtown. You
Yes.
need you need you need proof of travel, so like a airline confirmation. You need two passport photos, your birth certificate, ID, and the application, and then you can either pay debit, credit, or money order, whatever the case may be. It's like $195. You'll get it like within 6 hours. You get it like that same day. As
Yeah,
long as you're.
that's what we did for our visa for China. We actually
Mhm,
traveled to Chicago, spent the weekend, made a weekend out of it. And then
mhm,
that Monday, we went to the Chinese consulate, I believe it was
mhm.
called, and to get our visa because I was so afraid of just sending the passport out and not coming back in time. I was like, oh no, we're going to the office.
I need to do that too, because my dad lives in Chicago, so if I need to get it, I need to go get a Chinese visa myself.
Yeah, that was the best
Mhm,
thing smoking because it didn't take long. Number one, number two, it's same day action, so
mhm.
it was sweet. It was perfect because I like I said I was just scared to send it off and not have it back in time and risk that. But I've heard, and I don't know how true this is, and you can answer this. I've heard that you can just take pictures of your passport and it's just as good as a passport. Is that true? Because that's scary to me.
Not necessarily. Like you can't travel with a photocopy of your passport. Like when people make photocopies, it's just for, safety precautions. Like if you lose it, you can go to the U.S. consulate overseas and they can replace it for you, or you can just
Okay.
carry it on you instead of like your actual passport. And that's where the passport card comes into place too, because I got both myself.
My baby
So
has that. I want to show that. Jen, where's your passport card?
yeah, this stamp I got in New Zealand. I had to ask for this stamp.
She said the picture is not the most flattering.
I mean, my picture is
Girl, look.
terrible too. So
So my baby has that passport card. I think I'm gonna get that too. I love that. She doesn't like the picture, but let me
yeah,
cover up her
because
face.
I got that one too. Because I live in Missouri, and then St. Louis, Missouri rather, it's not part of the Real ID Act. It's still non-compliant. So when you travel domestically, you're gonna need another form of ID. Your license or state ID won't be good enough to board airplanes domestically. So instead of carrying my actual passport, I got the card
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not gonna actually carry this thing if I don't have to.
Right. And that's
Because
probably what I'm gonna have to do for me. I don't have the card. I just have my passport, but I do have a federal ID. So I feel like
Mhm,
that's a good thing too. But I'm gonna get that card now, especially since I seen it my babies. So I
mhm.
was like, I like that. Once she got hers, I was like, I like it. So I'm gonna get that as well.
This thing, this Russian visa.
Oh my goodness.
So it has my name in English and in Russian. And
Ow. I would
yeah,
start writing my name like that. Tarnipa.
so
No. Oh, that's the
um,
one thing I wanted to say too. Do you speak any other languages?
I know enough Spanish to like navigate. I can order food in Spanish. I can hold a casual conversation, stuff like that. But I every time I go somewhere that speak a different language, I learn the basics just to get me by. English is
Do you
actually
use like I know when we were in China, this little girl came up to Jen and she was talking to her. They was having a conversation. She was using her
mhm,
phone, like she would speak into it. She would read it, and then Jen would read it, and they would speak. Did you ever
mhm.
use those
Yeah,
those
Google
apps?
Translate. Google Translate's a great tool. Plus, on my phone, I have Bixby Vision. On a
I
basically
think
with
that's what she had.
basically what it is like if you point your camera at something in a different language, it'll translate it to English. So like if you go to like McDonald's or something, because I did that in Ukraine, because I can't read Cyrillic yet. I'm still learning it. But yeah, I pointed my camera at the menu and it just translated it to English. I was like, oh, okay. So
That's perfect. So I really appreciate you. We're probably going to do another one of these because I see there's a lot of folks logged on here and a lot of folks
mhm,
interested in having questions. And if you guys are watching the replay, please feel free to ask questions. Leroy and myself will be looking at this and responding as well. So don't feel like just because the live is over that you can't ask any more questions. And also, he lets you know he's a black man abroad, so you can follow him. Make sure that you see he's gonna be showing us his whole Russia trip and all the
mhm.
other trips that he has out there. But I really appreciate you, Leroy. And any final thoughts?
Just don't be afraid of the unknown. Just do it. Just like the Nike slogan, just do it. Just book the flight, ask questions later.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate all the folks that have logged on. Hey, Andrea. Hey, Sheree. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Marte. Hey, Tawana. Hey, Siobhan. Hey, Latanya. Hey, Sugar. Sugar, Sugar, Sugar. Hey, Julie. Hey, Lenny. Hey, Timmy. Hey, my Aunt Patty. Hey, Dion. Hey, Ronald, Jamaica, Christian, Whitney, Miss Nicole, Janella. Who else? Bryn, Russell, Nicola. Oh, these is your folks because I don't know them. Dwayne, Nicole, Venice, Kevin, Monique, Cynthia, Tanisha, Herschel, Stephen, Allen, Linda, Rhonda, Lathan, Janita. Hey, y'all have a super awesome day. Happy Valentine's Day. Love on
Likewise.
yourself and love on somebody else. All right.
Just feel free to message me here on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram at ABlackManAbroad, and you can go to my website as well.
Thank you so much. You have an awesome day.
Thank you. You too.
All right.